I now have the great honor to present to you Rev W. Franklyn Richardson.
I started out really at 17 wanting to be a doctor, and I had enrolled in pre-medical school. Along the way, I think there was always in me an inner struggle to go into the ministry. I kind of wanted to deny that struggle and to ignore it because I felt that the ministry had some expectations and demands that I was not willing to make. And however, that gnawing, that inner struggle of finding what it is that your life is supposed to be never went away, and I found myself unable to ignore it. So finally, I surrendered to it. I was called to grace in '75, which was, I was 25.
It is particularly significant to be with him on this 10th anniversary, to be able to look back over the 10 years that his ministry has impacted on Mount Vernon and the people of Mount Vernon, not only in the civic area and the community, political-wise, but also in the spiritual lives of the people who are gathered here for work. We are closer than brothers.
Is that right?
Yes, and it's manifested in our style of ministry and our concept of what it means to be a minister of the gospel in 1985.
What do you see as the role of the black church in today's modern society?
I think the black church's role today is to remain faithful to our legacy, to not change our course. The black church has historically been the haven, the vehicle for our liberation. If you look at black history, the black church has always been in the forefront of our fights for freedom and fights for salvation of our people. Black preachers have always been at the cutting edge of the struggle of black people in this country, from Nat Turner to Frederick Douglass to Malcolm and Martin and Jesse today and many others. In the political arena, Adam Clayton Powell and Bill Gray today, chairman of Budget Finance, is a pastor in Philadelphia. The black pastors have always been, the black church has been in the cutting edge of keeping and saving our black communities. And I think that the salvation of the black community is in our tapping the resources of the black church and putting it into the mainstream. The message of Jesus Christ is really the message that can save us as a people. And we have to make that message applicable to our struggle and to what we are going through.
Did you hold somebody's hand today? Did you try to understand? Did you help someone who's down near the ground? Then you're giving love. Won't you try and be a
Really, it's very difficult to describe it in one sentence or even a few sentences, because he has been so many things to so many people in our community. Young, dynamic, driving force.
And Ossie Davis, I know you're a member of the Grace Baptist Church, and we've seen you very often. And what kind of influence do you think that that Reverend Franklyn Richardson had to the church as well as the community itself?
Well, Reverend Richardson responds to our need for leadership, both in the church and the community. And now, since he is Executive Secretary of the National Baptist Convention, leadership at the national level. He just came back from a trip to Ethiopia where he took money over to feed some of the people. He provides leadership, and that's one of the great contributions that he's made.
He's just been an inspiration to so many people, and he's gotten himself involved, not just in his own community, but he really enlarges his scope to the whole community of the world, and has a heart that is big enough to take in from the smallest child in Mount Vernon to the most desperate situation in Ethiopia. That's a pretty rare person. So it is indeed my honor to be honoring him tonight.
We've been personal friends now for nearly 20 years. When he began his ministry at this church 10 years ago, I spoke at that banquet, and so we have grown together in our callings as ministers of the gospel. Since that time, he has done, of course, a tremendous job as a minister unto this community and to the nation but also had a great impact upon changing the course of the National Baptist Convention, the single largest black organization in America, indeed in the world. And the success of his work in that convention had an impact upon our electing a president, Dr. Jefferson, who is socially sensitive, a man who was a partner along with Dr. King in the Baton Rouge boycott in 1953 that preceded the boycott in 1955. And so Dr. Richardson's work in helping to change the course of our convention and getting Dr. Jefferson elected was so successful that Dr. Jefferson then turned and made him the youngest general secretary of our convention in its 100-plus year history. And the results of that change have been phenomenal, not the least of which was a voter registration drive in Chicago that had some impact upon Harold Washington becoming mayor in that city. For churches became involved in changing the social and political landscape there that had not been involved before. The result of that change in direction has been a commitment to feeding the hungry in Ethiopia and getting to them medicine and food as well as money. The result of that change is that the vast body of ministers in that...
Now, I want to speak just a few moments tonight, if I might, and I want to compete with your chicken and lose. All of the dessert that you pretend you don't want but do. For a moment, I want to talk about a man against his time. A man against his time. This instance, grace, it also means a church against its time. And there's always some tension between man or woman, as the case may be, and their time. If they're agents of change, a lot of tension between Jesus and the temple. Tension between Jesus and the church of his time. Tension between Luther and the church. Yeah. A man and his time. A tension between Dr. King and Ebenezer. A man and his time. Unless there's been some eclipse of history, there is tension between Franklyn Richardson and Grace, because he's a man of his time. 10 years ago, I sat with Ossie and some friends from Grace. There was a sense of joy and excitement about the possibility, the risk for young ministers taking over a major and established church.